morning and welcome to Waking Wellness, where our purpose is to help you find yours. And if you have, then we're just here to help you embrace yours just a little bit more and get you ready for the day. Today, we're going to go over something that's near, very deep into my heart, as wild as it is. I know it's a little confusing. It's a little confusing for me too. But overall, the topic is the F word, forgiveness. And this is something that I think not enough of us, if we do touch on the topic, I don't think many of us integrate and actually go out and practice forgiveness. Because if we did, a lot more of us would be healthier, a lot more of us will walk around not feeling so tight, restricted, and as if we're holding on to something or everything, hoping that it doesn't fall apart, as opposed to we walk around free, able to let go of our attachments that we or our ego has decided is the actual us. So for today, like I said, the topic is forgiveness. I already did an audio, I did a few audios, but it was strictly audio, and so I wanted to come and do a video and with myself present, and so I can go a little bit further into depth while also giving maybe a little bit of a quick overview of the whole topic. So recently, about 4 days ago, it's hard to actually use the word father or dad because he wasn't either to me in any kind of way, but my biological father or dad passed away. And thank God I've been blessed and lucky enough to have a real man and a real role model to show me what it is to be a father, a husband, an amazing human being in Anthony McPherson. So I really do thank you, Dad, and I don't give you enough thanks, to be honest. And God blessed me with the two best parents that I could really ever have, in Cheryl and Anthony. And so I love you both, and I thank you very much. And so to continue and backtrack a little bit, so my biological father passed a few days, and I received the news from my mom when she got back from her trip. And when she gave me the news, she had to go run into the store, and when she told me, it was a very odd feeling because one of the other topics that I'm going to dive into, psychic ability, don't know exactly how I want to approach it right now, so I wanted to go into the psychic phenomenon. So it's wild because when she told me right before she touched me, I was like, and I was just like, oh, I already know what is the news, but I had been primed or preempted through my intuition, knowing and to expect a death. So if he passed away, let's say 3 or 4 days ago, I'll say 3 just for the purpose of this, and I'll go back and find out when I actually play the first clips that I made at the end of this. But 4 days ago, if this was 3 days ago, 4 days ago, I was watching and just sort of going through my day, and I'm always very aware of what comes in to my awareness because of how my awareness has set up and primed myself and my surroundings for the reception of this information or these downloads. And I was watching a couple of different movies and shows that were really sticking, and like as if my life and as if the universe was directly talking to me. And one of those cut that part out. One of those were Mayans, and that's a show I really like. It's about bikers, like Sons of Anarchy, but a key character really like, and they really make you become invested in their journey, is Coco. and he ends up having a daughter. They're strange. He wasn't. So as I was watching it, I was feeling things as if I were within it, but obviously I'm removed. And it was weird because it felt like a message, as if I was getting a phone call, but I was picking up to a degree, if that makes sense. I just kept saying, like, I know you're telling me something. I know you're telling me something. And some bad stuff happened to Coco. He ended up overdosing, and they made us think he was gonna die then, but he didn't. He actually came back, and then he passed very shortly after. And right after watching that, and or maybe before, I also watched the movie She's Going to Die, or She's Gonna Die Tomorrow. And it's wild because as soon as I started playing it, it was almost as if, like, when something feels as if it's made for you. And when I put it on and I was watching, I was like, wow, I am meant to watch this. I said that out loud because I could feel it. And so it was very apparent to me that my consciousness, as well as the universe, were becoming aligned and on that same frequency. At one point, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm being rang. And I feel like it was a high pitch, but I was still down here. And at some point, like, I watched a few shows and I watched a few movies, and it was really like, and I could feel as if, it's hard to say, as if like life or God itself is talking to me, like, this is something that is happening, or it's happening. I was gonna say happen, but happening, and I was aware, but I could not tell what it was. And so my mind started to, I guess, sort of scramble for and do its own like Google search of what it could be. And through sort of reflecting on what was popping up, it did have me reflect. And I remember asking myself very blatantly, like, what would you do if, your parent passed, if your father passed, or if your mother, and really it was happening very rapidly, but I was almost being thrown as if like I was tripping, and then being put into one setting and made to face that. And then as soon as I'm warped out, it threw me in the other. And it's funny because I felt so deep with those two, between my mom and my dad. And then at some point, it never 1,000% kicked into me that it would happen this other way. But the question popped up because it's been within me and arising for some time, because it's almost as if inside I've had that raging storm, surrounded by this confusion and not understanding, or not, I'm not even gonna say not understanding, me not going forth and sort of pushing for answers because the because is a whole nother thing. But I understood that I would eventually need to address this, but I also understood there was a lot of anger within me. And like, my stance on it prior to was, if someone were to ask me, or my mom would ask me, like, oh, would you ever go and want to meet your dad, and it was more of a nonchalant, most of the time it was a nonchalant, that's sort of one of my defense mechanisms, no, I'm good, and just shrug it off. But as I sort of sat and thought about it more and more, I thought, what if I did get in that interaction? I always said to myself, I felt like I would just sit there and just look at them, and just, like, I don't really have, like, I want to know why you did what you did and why you left my mom in that position. But yet, at the same time, I feel like whether it was lack of respect, lack of whatever it was definitely a lack of something, that I wouldn't even have the energy to go forth and even ask the question, because in a way as if he didn't deserve it. And so it was wild, because for some time now, let's say maybe 2.5, 3 years maybe, I've been coming in and out of my consciousness, and me asking myself, like, how would I, should I, and having this family that part of me, I've always felt like something is missing. And one of the only times I've ever felt that be complete is when I went to Peru, and I actually felt like it was that was a marker, a very vital marker for me that I was going to make it to no matter what, whether it was at 12 years old, whether it was at 20, whether it was at 75, and I needed to do it because a piece of my soul truly remained there. And I remember opening my arms and being fulfilled, almost like it felt like spirit had fulfilled me, and I was just so happy, like, yes, I'm here. But other than that, I've always felt as if like a key piece of me was missing, inaccessible, being like dangled around or within the orbit, and I just was not able to grasp it. And not being able to understand that was even more of a just almost like wind fueling and chopping up the waters and making me just causing the perfect storm. And so it's wild because to now be where I am now, and even though it's 2 days ago, and me thinking like, oh, I really want to forgive, and asking myself, do you forgive? You think you forgive, and that you have let go of these things, and feeling like, oh, to be honest, that's one of, if not my number one issue, is abandonment. And it took me years upon years of reflecting and seeing how that is true. But I see in myself, I see my own tendency to cut things off, cut people off, and end it right away, just cold turkey like, and things that have been beneficial to me and or has provided a positive atmosphere, regardless if something negative did come in, but I've cut ties with those things so quickly, and that being out of a fear of having it happen to me first. So it's just like when people are like, oh my God, you got abused when you were a kid. How can you abuse your kid? Like, it's literally learning the cycle. And if we don't understand how cycles come about, then we will never be able to exit the cycle. We're constantly like this, wanting to get that little exit to go out, but yet this is all we know. So we operate in the mode, we operate within the terms of conditions that we are used to, which we have prior engagement with. So until we throw something else into the mix, or somebody else adds something into the mix, or the environment drastically says, hey, yo, like, and causes our perception to sort of turn, and we go, wow, I was very blind to what was before, and we are provided clarity, then it's no other way to get outside of that circle. And so it's really wild because I've been within that circle, and many of us are, and thinking that we have been, whether we think we have forgiven that person that makes us the most mad, or has done this and that, and we just can't believe it. A lot of us go, I ain't even tripping about it, I ain't think about that, I don't know. But the fact, that simple fact that we can go, I ain't really, it's the attachment to that energy that is at the base that lets you know, you're lying. You are definitely still not even attached. You are bound. You are caged by. And what's wild is it's a self-designed prison. It's a self-constructed. I can't even call it a concept. It is self-constructed. And so until we understand that, until we're honest with ourselves, because it's not until we're honest that we can say, oh, I'm in a cage. I am not free. I am bound by I am controlled by I am restricted by my emotions, my past thoughts, my routines, what I have always been doing. And I'm going to try to stay on that. But a lot of us will realize, if we really sat down, let's just give it a day, or give yourself an hour, 30 minutes, and write down things that you think you like and that you really are with, and I'm talking about anything. I'm going to name a few in these range. I may think that I like basketball. I may think that I like my food so hot that when I eat it, it burns my mouth. I may think that I like my showers the same way, steaming, where I'm almost burning it, like degree burns. Certain things, or I may like working out until I'm sick. I may think I like barbecue, I may think I like ranch, I may think I like fried foods. We may think we like all of these things if we have always been conditioned to, and we are picking these things up from the people that we love and the people that we have learned from. I used to always think that I like my food piping hot and hot enough straight out the grease. I do like my food straight out the grease hot, but I don't like to eat it straight out the grease hot because I'll burn my tongue. Now I got an issue and I can't even enjoy my food. I picked that up because that's what my mom likes. When I was young, I used to always hear her say, oh yeah, I like my food piping hot, burn my mouth. And so I would try to eat that. But now, if you know me, I'll wait 30, 45 minutes after I have my food. I'll wait 2 hours and eat it like that and enjoy it just as much because that is not something that I value as much as I thought I valued, because that is a construct that my ego has taken, has brought here and said, this is me, this is what I like, but honestly, it's something that I picked off of somebody else that I love, so I can say I like very easily. The transfer is almost seamless. And so I say all of that to bring it back and help us see the cycles that we are stuck in. A lot of the cycles that we are stuck in and that we perpetuate have been perpetuated by someone that we love. So we put it to the side, or we let it slide by saying like, oh yeah, I'm with that too. I like that too. I'm that way too. When 99% of the times, no, you're not. And the other person isn't as well. A great example is when I was young and we were in Milwaukee, me and my cousins, pretty much as my twin, one of our other cousins out there, they used to always go on, I think it's Eastbay, like the sneakers website. And they would go on there and literally just look at shoes and be like, oh yeah, that's cold, that's cold, that's cold. And I promise you, 98% of the time, they always agreed. And I remember just watching them and being like, dang, like how do they know that that's wrong? Like how is, okay, I'm like, oh yeah, the Jordans, those heat. And I'm like, those are ugly to me, I would never wear them. And they would just keep going down this list and I'm literally like, wow, I am pretty much, if this was a test, I would have had almost every single one wrong and I would have maybe got 2 or 3 right. And especially the ones that I would have been like, I'm rocking, I would have failed. And so one day it really hit me as I was staring at the screen and staring at them that so much, I don't want to say it's about personal preference, but it really is in the sense of the simulation we experience is the one that we decide we want to experience. The simulation that we decide to experience is the one that we are going to decide we are willing to work hard enough for, and that we are willing to accumulate enough energy to actually will it to happen. This is not one of those, I want to be rich, I want to be healthy, and voila, I feel great and I'm rich and happy. No. It is a, damn, I've been down in the dumps. I have not been doing shit to help me feel better within my body, so I'm eating crap. I am always mentally fatigued and I'm not growing because I'm not reading, so that means that I'm just digesting crap, most likely just watching TV, watching Family Guy, watching those things that we think are making us feel good and go ha ha ha, but at the end of the day, they haven't fueled us at all. So instead of fueling us, they are draining us, and now we're just feeling even worse than we were before. And so all of these things play into one another, and I know I keep sort of going back, but I'm trying to circle back in so that we can see these are cycles, these are habits, these are patterns, these are things that we may have picked up ourselves, but a lot of them we have not. And now that we're at that point, it doesn't matter whether or not we picked it up ourselves or picked it up from somebody else. It now matters that we take the initiative. We take charge of our lives and say, okay, maybe I should be eating more fruits every day. Maybe I do need to cut down on the smoking a little bit. I can still drink. I just don't need to have 3 every other day. I maybe could cut that in half. Yeah, it's okay to watch TV, but I need to get my ass up off the couch and I need to go run for at least a mile so I can get to 2 miles and get to 3. No matter what it is for you to reach your optimal self, that is what we must raise our energy level to, and we must align ourselves to, because millionaires, very energetic, very bubbly, very happy, very successful, very determined, very focused people, whether or not, and despite that they do, because they're human, drop down in frequency time to time, they don't sleep in every day. They don't eat fast food every day. They don't eat junk food every day. They don't skip their workout, their business, those phone calls, that networking, that meet. They're not skipping. They're showing up. They're showing up. They're showing up in order to show out. And so to be down here, you got to drink the water that you need to. You need to eat your veggies. You need to eat your fruits. You need to meet those people that you need to meet, so that when the time comes, and whatever that frequency is, whether that is the job, whether that is the vision, whether that is the clothing brand, no matter what it is, you need to have the energy, the frequency to connect. And then some magic happens. It's gonna be like, oh man, this is easy. It's already on the roll. It's already done, because the work that needed to be put in to reach it has already been put in. And so now we're in a whole nother momentum. So I know I've given a lot, but I give all of that to bring us back to the point of the cycle, because most of us are in a cycle of that person did me wrong. You see how tense and the expression of emotion that is within, the expression of is always going to indicate what is within. So if you have somebody that you quote unquote forgiven, one of your friends, they did you wrong, they're supposed to be your best, you're like, oh yeah, I've forgiven them. But anytime their name comes up, anytime you may see a sign that reminds you of them, a show, and you get that, if you get anything other than a positive, or it just, or it's just as if you just like thought about another tree or something like that, and it doesn't just pass, you are in a cycle. You are holding on. You still have all those emotions in your boat, and you're not ready to throw them out, because the moment that you throw them out, then it's up to you to really listen to me. Once you throw all of that shit and emotion away outside of your boat, now it is just you that is responsible to get where you are going. You can't go and scream out into the world, look into the sky at God and go, oh my gosh, yes, why did you put these holes in the boat and now the water's filling up? And no, the boat's fine. It's all empty. You have what you need. You have the map. You know exactly how to get there. You got the technique. It's on you. You can't say, well, Bryson was supposed to go and make sure that the screws over. Everything is taken care of. And so now when it comes to getting to where you're supposed to float or sink, who else is to blame? It's no one. You have to take full responsibility. And the beautiful thing about doing so is when you do, you now have the freedom. You have the freedom to make the active choice of saying, I want to be free. I want to be happy. I release my anger. I release all the negativity. I release the resentment. I release the guilt, the shame. I release whatever is not serving me and my higher purpose. I release it. Why would you hold on to it for anything else? Because most of us think that holding on is going to give us something to gain, but so many of us are holding on to so much within our body. Not only do we stand nothing to gain, we are poisoning ourselves. We are living with ease because we think that if we hold in our minds, this motherfucker did me wrong. Somewhere out in the universe, and this is one of my favorite things to think about, especially people who are always like, oh yeah, good vibes and energy, but don't really are in the practice, like the everyday practice. These same people will literally, after just going good vibes, posting, they'll go, oh yeah, yeah, I hope Bryson get this, God got something for him. But whoa. What happened to good vibes? What happened to really pushing that positivity? Or was it only for media? Was it only to make it look like you all flowers and rainbows and ponies and all that shit? Probably is. When we are really in practice, you can feel it. And that is something that I urge all of us to start doing. No matter what the problems, whether it is a parenting, all of us need. And I'm glad my family has started a group chat. I'm always psyche at communication, and this is just something for my family. But when I'm on. But they started, and it's amazing because my aunt, she is a licensed therapist, and she is very big and has helped our family get into mental health and inner child work, parenting work on our inner child. That's everybody. I don't care how rich, successful, happy, sad, small, big, tall, short, any characteristic that you give me on both sides of those extremes, everybody needs to do the inner child work and work on that, because that is where all of our troubles lie. That is where people don't understand the poison lies. So when somebody lies to you and you just lash out as if they just told you, you won the lottery and you really believed it, but they were just really like, oh, we got this shoe in the back and we don't, and you're ready to, do some stuff to the place. It's because we're holding on to the poison within. One of my favorite books is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and he is from the Toltec tradition, and they teach us that our lives are our masterpiece. And when you put it like that, it's very easy to see, every stroke, every move, every thought, every decision will paint our masterpiece. And a lot of times we forget a stroke, or we forget that we fell into a certain habit. And so sometimes our art may start looking a little bit like this, and we see it as a mess on one side, and it may not be a beautiful mess. It may be something that is very hard to cope with and manage and even see as our own creation. And then we start to let those things in our boat. So-and-so did this to me, and it just made me feel really like this. They just did me really bad, and I thought, dang, in a lot of cases, this has happened. Somebody did do you wrong. Somebody did leave you high and dry and put you, maybe your employer did do you like this, and now you are in debt. But to be honest, to be brutally honest, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, what you decide, I'm gonna start that over again. At the end of the day, what you decide is for you, and what source decides is for you. When you get in alignment with that, it's for you. F your boss. F the old best friend that did you in. F the spouse that just, was supposed to be ride or die and then literally made sure that you were down and out. And that's not me saying, oh, forget him. I'm not saying like that. I'm actually saying it in a way so that we can finally become accountable for our own, and then realize oh man, they may have to do this, but if I had went, the position that you put yourself in allowed anybody else to allow the environment to then respond to us. So it starts with you. don't say that it starts with anybody else. Sierra said, and that was the reason. Too bad, because Sierra's not there anymore. You're the one living in it. So I really sat in that and hope that that resonates, because now, and I'll be able to show you guys how it worked for me. I really sat there and said, man, that was my decision not to forgive. Like, it was my decision, and I was giving the power away, being a slave to giving the power away and saying, well, he never tried to come and see me, or when he did reach out, it was only just for my mom, and like, you don't never, how could you not? That was me taking it personally. That's a whole nother topic we're gonna talk about. And that's also one of the 4 agreements, is not to take anything personally. It's something I talk to my mom about all the time, and I can't wait to have those conversations with you guys about what it means to not take it personally. But one of the best ways that I tend to describe that is like the normal way of thinking would say, how can you not take that personal? That is to you, you're a human, you're a person, that's personally. They tried to, or somebody just robbed me, and somebody says, don't take it personally. They robbed me, they didn't rob you, they robbed me, and it happened to me, they made me a target. So they say, how do you not make or take that personally? And the way that we go about that is by understanding that our consciousness and our sense of consciousness, my consciousness is not your consciousness. Yes, we are all of one, but we are not all operating on the same consciousness. And why does that matter? Because no matter what I say to you or do to you, you are accountable for you. So just because Earl stole from me and I can take it personal, if I did not take it personal, and that would mean I'm in a higher state of awareness, then I would be able to see that is who Earl is. That is the consciousness that Earl is operating within. So if it wasn't me, it was gonna be Sierra. If it wasn't Sierra, it was gonna be Cleo. If it wasn't Cleo, it was gonna be Cassie. And if it wasn't them, it was gonna be Brian. So it's very important to understand that that is the consciousness that they are operating in, and therefore until we sync up, then it's no connection. So that's why you must be of utmost awareness and understand that I'm in charge of me. Earl steals from me. You got 2 choices: react, respond. Earl, let's say, runs down the street, steals from me, or stole from me in a deal. I didn't realize it till later. The reaction is to whatever happened. I have been taken, again, I'm pretty much a slave to my emotions. And now whatever train that I am on and that path has, that energy has cleared the way for, I'm on it. I haven't checked it. I have not guided the energy. The energy has cleared a pathway and said, whatever we on, we on. And now me and my subconscious, I'm fully in and I'm for it. So no matter whether that's harming, doing the same too, no matter what it is, the energy has already cleared the path and said by any means necessary, and I'm through. The second choice we have is to respond. Responding is just like the 2 modes of thinking. There is logical thinking, our everyday type of thinking, and then there is calculative thinking. There's calculative thinking, that's the logical thinking, and there's meditative thinking. You want to call it philosophical kind of viewpoint. Meditative thinking is more of it's the critical thinking that it's hard to explain, but I'm going to say it is outside of ourselves. The logical thinking goes 1 + 1 and this, then that. Whereas meditative thinking allows us to take into the whole. It allows us to see things as they are outside of their labels. Most people do not know how, and even if they do know how, do not actively use the second. Most people fall within the first, go straight into calculative thinking because that's how we've already been trained. That's how we've allowed ourselves to perpetuate our own existence, really, is through calculative thinking, until we have had a glimpse of meditative thinking and have made the conscious effort one day to say, this may be where it's at. This may actually be what I need to progress, to reflect, to grow, to take action. That is what we need. I'm not saying that one is not needed and the other is, or one is better than the other. All I'm saying is they both have their functions, and many of us have not learned to properly utilize the second. Many of us have not learned how to respond. We simply go through our day-to-day reacting. Somebody cut us off. Somebody, bumped into us, hey! As opposed to, it's okay. Or even if they did bump you hard, instead of snapping up, excuse me, you bumped. Many of us have not developed, expanded our capacity for responding. So, hit on a lot. And to bring it back, it took me time. And honestly, it's crazy because it really is like surrendering. I knew that I wanted to forgive because forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for self. Forgiveness is one of the most selfless and selfish, with a positive connotation. It's one of the most positive, selfish, and selfless things that you can do. Because what it does is it releases the energy that we have blocked off within. Let's say I have a whole bunch of energy ready I'm ready to write books, I'm ready to take vacations, I'm ready to inspire, I'm ready to teach yoga classes, but yet for 15 years, or for 20 years, 25 years, for as long as I've known that this being out there who, really gave life to me has never reached out to me, has never given me the sorry, has never or has always what seemed and felt like avoided me and not cared for me. All these things I could let in, I could let weigh me down, and I could sink in the middle of the ocean, which is, or as we know, is the universe, and just sink and just drown, just in all these emotions and hate, doubt, fear, lack of confidence, all these things. Or I can say, I gotta get this water the hell about my boat, because I got some places and some things and some people that I need to see, that I need to do, that I need to experience, because if not, then the rest of my time in the ocean will be looking around my boat and saying, I'm going down, and not doing shit about it other than feeling like, damn, I'm going down, and keep perpetuating that. And I mean, I guess unless you want to go down and die and drown, then you got to do something else about it. So it's wild, because when I really felt that within me, when she told me that he passed, and she went in, I actually started crying, and you'll be able to hear within the audio, that I was sad. And what actually struck me was something of which I really come from is gone. That's a wild thought. Like, I've thought how I feel when that happens, but with my actual, I don't want to say with my actual parents, but yes, my actual parents, those have raised me, and I know I would be devastated, and it would be somewhat difficult to go on if not focusing on the beauty and the love that they've instilled for me to carry on and spread with the world. In this other situation, I didn't think I would be sad. Like, even as I was talking to my mom, I was like, I didn't think Like, and she's like, yeah, you know, because it's like that distance, you know, you don't really have nothing for him. And the moment she said it, I was like, I know, ain't that crazy? Because that's what I thought. But as much as I thought, well, he ain't had, you know, I don't know him, I have nothing for it. The distance is so far. But just the other way, people can also say, well, I hate, I have anger, I have. So if you can have hate, anger, and all these negative emotions, you can also have love and all these positive emotions for something that has done you wrong and or not even been there for you. So it's wild, because when I realized that, I'm like, man, I gotta let it go. And sort of even before me saying that, I could just feel I felt sad and sorry for him. To like, she told me just a couple of things, you know, that like my uncle had said, like he had been sort of not doing well, and you know, the past couple of years, and like it's just so many things, like, you know, will start running through your mind, like, dang, well, what if I did end up reaching out? Like, dang, like, would I be a more complete person? Like, and it's funny because that's not the first thing I thought of. First thing I thought is like, would that been able to save him? Would that be able to, you know? And it's wild because here I am thinking these things I never thought I would have thought, having emotions I never would have thought I would have felt, because prior to, I used to have, F him, he don't want to see me, I don't need to see him, I ain't got nothing for him, he ain't got nothing for me. You see that? You see that emotion? You can feel how it clings. That's negative. That's bringing you down. That kind of energy makes you want to do like not good things. But when I sat there and I really thought to myself, like, why am I crying for him and everything? I was like, man, that's sad. We as humans want to see others doing good. We want to see others like living in their joy. We don't want to see these, you know, the dreadful things that some of us really fall in and grip to within life, like addiction, pushing others away and staying disconnected. We don't want to see that. And so knowing that was his existence, and she's very sad, and it made me sad. And I remember coming back, and I had already known in my heart and felt it then, but I remember coming back and just being like, I forgive you. I really forgive you. And it's even wild saying it now because I don't have any of that, like, you know, almost feeling like tar inside just stuck to you and just really making you lifeless. It's the opposite. All those blocks, those big, dirty, mucky blocks that I could see within my energy bodies that was stopping my heart from opening up and giving the love to people that deserved it, from staying connected with people that I know deserved it, and as opposed to cutting people off because of these things that I've dealt with from young and that inner child. So of course it cut off. Oh my God, I went through a great amount of stuff. But we're gonna bring it right back. I went through all of what I went through everything that I said to say acceptance. When you accept what you have not been able to accept, then we are now able to incorporate, or we're able to utilize the energy that has been pent up and that we have not allowed ourselves to use. We sit typically in that, I don't want to let go. I don't want to, like, they did me wrong. I don't want to let go, you know, and all we have to do is say, I need to let go. I need to forgive. Because forgiveness is about us, and forgiveness allows you to let go of what you've been holding on to. It allows and frees up in the universe the other person to maybe not feel guilty or release what they have done to you. So now it's gone, it's dissipated. We no longer have that negative tether that we have been holding on to and thinking is so necessary to keep us together. And so it's been a long video. the past maybe like 15-20 minutes actually got cut, and that was pivotal, which has sort of got me a little bit like, but stuff happens. And so to sort of bring it all back, these are all aspects, like I said, acceptance, no, scratch that. Everything that I brought up prior to are all aspects that we need to be aware of and understand how to integrate effectively within our strategy of forgiveness and letting go. Understanding how the cycles we have been perpetuated by certain habits and how those habits have been formed is going to be crucial. Accepting that we have the habits, and then asking yourself, being honest with yourself, and really saying, do I want to change? Yes, I want to change, because no, I don't want to change, because being honest will allow us to eventually accept whichever we choose, and when the answer is yes, it will give us the initiative to go forward and say, this is the action that I need to feel better. I need to eat, boom, boom, boom. To make my mental feel better and less foggy, I need to read. And we will go and do those things as opposed to falling in the cycle of calculative thinking, of that automatic thinking and way of being, and just eating the same things that we do, feeling that same way. As opposed, we will have we will have a moment of clarity that meditative thinking provides. And when we typically access that type of thinking, we make the better choice as well. So again, my phone's out of storage, so cut the video short multiple times, unfortunately, but I wanted to make sure I ended it properly just by saying I brought up all the aspects that I did in the beginning, as far as cycles and habits and learning about them, bringing clarity to them so that we can actually learn to get outside of them. If we do not learn to get outside of them, then we will never learn how to get outside of our normal habit of not being or not forgiving. And so it's the same, I say that because after it took death for me to really understand, like, wow, I was really holding on to these things, and now I do not have the opportunity to have that face-to-face conversation if I really wanted and decided to, and we'll never know what could have actually come of. And I think so many of us hold on to these things with people that we have loved and or we're supposed to love, but did us so wrong that it's caused a great divide. And I think that, and I know the world would be a much better place if we have learned and given ourselves and others the chance to be forgiven. And so I really hope that this helps and touches a few of your heartstrings and really beckons you to do the work and look and see, like, okay, and it really causes you to do the work and say, okay, these are the things that I need to remove, and we go and we do them. I gave a technique in the last little quick clip that I gave, but it cut the video, so I'm not sure if you guys actually received it. It was actually, radical realization. It may help you to forgive someone if you really sit and feel what it is and how bad it is, like, oh, okay, they did this, and you really sit and you feel that, because when you do, then you will be able to say, this is as bad as it was, okay, cool, and sort of shake it off. And move through, get through, let that energy pass through, and now we're able to get over it. And many of us stay stuck on the negative aspects of relationships, whereas if we do take some time and sort of reflect, then we can use visualization or visualizing positive aspects of that relationship to sort of shift our perspective of the whole thing. And that will also allow us to sort of let go of some of that energy and realize like there are positive aspects of the relationship and or of the situation that I've been through. And when we're able to do that, forgiveness is a much easier experience to experience, because we are not now blocked up and saying, no, they don't deserve it, from all these different things. So I really hope that this video does call and beckon with some of you to say, let me address and see some of the things I've been blocking out, let it go, forgive, and living our best lives. So until next time, I love you all. Waking Wellness, and bye.